Okay, we are just going to wait for a few more seconds to make sure we catch up with the LinkedIn Live. So we're just going to sit here quietly for a few seconds to make sure you don't miss out on anything. Okay, I think this is just enough time to make sure if you're dialing in now, you're probably just catching us now. So let me welcome everyone to another episode of LinkedIn Live on working with teams in India. Today's episode is a little bit special for us because instead of talking about different topics on India, on the business culture, we are going to present something very special. We obviously run a lot of these sessions, as a lot of you probably already know us, but let us do a quick introduction anyways, in case we have any new people who've joined us on this link. So my name is Nav. I'm one of the senior consultants in Global Business Culture. Global Business Culture, as you already know, we are one of the world-leading consulting and training companies on the impact of cross-culture on global teams. So we work across many countries with many large multinational organizations. I can see there's two other people on the screen, Vidya and Keith. That's two of my colleagues. I will let them introduce themselves before we kick off. Let me start with Vidya first.
Hello, everyone. Good evening, good morning, wherever you're logged in from. As Nav said, we are all part of the same team. I'm a senior consultant based in Bangalore in India. Really looking forward to today's session. It's really special. Thank you.
Keith.
Hi. I'm Keith Warburton. I'm CEO of Global Business Culture. I started the business quite a number of years ago, and I've been working on outsourcing, offshoring type GCC operations with India for the best part of 30 years now. So it's a topic that's very close to my heart.
Great. And why we said it was really special episode for us, because finally, after months and months of hard work and lots of thinking and lots of writing, we finally published our book, Working with Teams in India. That is kind of the culmination of everything we've gone through, everything put together into all the experiences we've had. And we really hope that this is something that's been missing in the market for our clients and hopefully for you. What we thought would be good for this session is just to concentrate on the books. We've been quite happy with, it's only been 2 weeks, but we are quite happy with the kind of review and response we got from a lot of our clients and a lot of people who are reading out there. But there's lots of questions as well. So we thought we'll use this 30 minutes to just kind of answer some of the common questions we're getting from a lot of our potential clients and existing clients and readers. So one of the most common question obviously is that we are in the consulting business. So why did we write the book? So what we'll do, we'll just ask a few of these questions around within the three of us, and we will just pick some of those answers within us. Keith, can I ask you the first one, please? Why did we write the book? Can you answer on our behalf, please?
Thanks, Nav. So there's a number of reasons why we wrote the book. The first reason really is because people kept asking us, have you got a book? Have you written a book on this? And in fact, people have probably been asking me that question for 20 years. And it's quite embarrassing to say, well, no, actually we haven't. And my standard answer has always been, I'm just too busy to write a book because I'm working with clients like you on these projects, and so it just keeps me busy. So that was the first reason, just to answer that demand from our clients, really. And when clients asked, have you written a book on this? And we said no, then the next question they would ask was, well, can you recommend a good book on this topic? And again, my answer to that had to be, well, no, I can't really. There isn't a good book on this topic of working with teams in India when you're working from the West to India. There just weren't any books around. I've looked at one or two, and from my perspective, they weren't that great. So that was the second reason, because we thought there was a gap there, and our clients had a demand. And the third reason, I think, was when we talked about this, we thought, well, who is best placed to write a book like this? And without wanting to be too arrogant, I think it's us. As I said, I've been working on these projects for about 30 years now. I've worked with hundreds of Western businesses with operations in India. I've worked with thousands of leaders in the West and leaders in India. I've heard thousands of anecdotes and stories, and I've helped all these companies to improve their performance. So we've just got that practical experience, hands-on, lived experience, which I think a book like this should be based on. So we just felt we were probably best placed to write the book. So I think those are the three main reasons why we wrote the book. And then I'll move on to the next question, which we've been asked, which if you look at the book, I don't know if you can see the book, you will see that there are three authors. And the three authors are here on the screen, myself now for video. And so one of the other questions we're being asked is, it's quite unusual to have three authors like this. Why have we got three authors? Why didn't one of you write it? Because it probably presumably was a bit more difficult to write it if there's three people involved, which it was. So Vidya, why did we decide to have three authors involved in this?
Yeah, and that's a great question. I think I can understand why people might be curious about that. The main reason why we decided to go down this path is that we wanted to offer the readers a very balanced perspective. We didn't want the book or the tone in the book to come across as it being just one-sided, sort of like a Western lens. And if you look at the three of us here and the kind of experience that we have, Keith obviously has been working with India for decades now, and he understands how that works. But I am born, raised, lived, and worked in India. I've worked in companies like Microsoft and Citrix, technology companies that worked with Western offices, clients, and partners. And so there's that perspective of the other side that we can include. Now he's lived half his life in India, the other half in the UK, so he brings that perspective as well. So as we were working through this book, we were able to look at every scenario from both sides and include that balanced approach, which we hope will be beneficial to every reader, whether you're based in the West or whether you're based in India. And that kind of actually leads me to the next question we have. And Nav, can you talk us through what the content in the book is really based on?
Yeah, and I think, thanks for that. And I think what I've kind of already mentioned, all the content in the book is really based on all our experiences put together. Not only our personal experience, as Vidya mentioned, because we've lived and worked and been through all the West and the East countries between the three of us, but also we worked with thousands and thousands of clients and projects we've done. We've gone through, you can imagine, every single part of the process that you need to think in the business when it comes to someone working from the West in India or from India to the West. We've had clients where they had recruitment issues. We've had clients where they said it's a communication issue, we don't know how the meetings are run, accountability, ownership issues. And then we've also had clients who come to us after 2 years of setting the teams in India and say, it still doesn't work. We thought we will figure it out, but it didn't work. So we have retention issues, we have motivation issues, we have performance issues. So, so the content is really based. So we kind of look at it as a story, as a life cycle of someone interacting with India or some from India working with the West throughout the life cycle. And I think we captured kind of everything. Because, you might be just thinking of India now, or you might already be working with India for the last couple of years. I think you should be able to relate to that. So, so this content is really based on kind of, the whole life cycle of interactions between Western teams and Indian teams working together. And we've tried to capture that. And hopefully that comes across when you read the book. Yeah. Hopefully that kind of gives everyone an idea. And just based on that, kind of, that's the content, but what is really the message, the key messages that we're trying to share in the book is one of the other questions that many people ask. I'll let Keith kind of answer that one.
Yeah, what are the main messages? But that's quite a big question actually, and difficult to encapsulate. But I suppose in a sentence, it would be that when you are working with teams in India, whether you're just setting up or you've been doing it for a while, the cultural issues really matter. Unfortunately, very often they are overlooked. And you can understand why the process mapping and all of that transformation takes precedence. But at the end of the day, successful businesses is about the successful interaction of individuals. And if you're American and you start for the first time working with colleagues in India, that's a huge cultural divide and gap, which people overlook at their peril. So the first one is that culture matters and it should be addressed. And I think the second one is, yes, culture matters, it should be addressed, but it should be addressed in the right way. And from my perspective, so much cultural awareness training looks at the wrong things. You know, it's just all about Hofstede dimensions and all of that stuff, which is very difficult to translate into everyday working experiences. So what we've tried to do, as Nav was just saying, is we've tried to break the book down into areas of real commercial concern. Things like effective recruitment. So often people recruit the wrong people because their recruitment teams don't understand the Indian landscape, and they need to. We're talking about issues around effective onboarding, which very often goes badly wrong. We're talking about issues around how to build effective teams across these cultures. So we're really looking at this from a day-to-day commercial perspective. And, you know, any clients out there who are thinking about doing this type of developmental work, whether you do it with global business culture or you do it with somebody else, you've got to make sure that the people who are delivering that training are not just going to talk theory to you, and they've got real lived experience in this area, because if they haven't, they won't add value to you. They'll probably actually denude value from you. So what we're saying is culture matters, and that preparation for this whole working with India piece really has to be well thought through. And if you were to ask me where very often all of this goes wrong, is because people just dash into it without giving it much consideration. There's a story that is in the foreword that I wrote in the foreword to the book, where a number of years ago I was working with a client in Chicago, and I went to do a half-day session with their senior leadership team prior to a very aggressive transition into India. And they'd asked me to talk about what the challenges were that they might face, and I talked them through that. And then that finished, and I went away, didn't hear anything from them. And then they asked me to go back and spend a couple of days with them. And when I got there, I said to the CEO, "How's it been going?" And he said, "Well, everything you told us would happen, Keith, has actually happened. But when you told us, we didn't believe you, because we thought we could just manage our way through it." And that happens so often. So factoring in all of these challenging cultural issues into the preparation is essential, because cultural knowledge is very hard won. You know, when you make those mistakes, it costs you money. It costs you in missed deadlines. It costs you in levels of attrition and decreased motivation of your staff in India. So it's an expensive business to get this wrong, and all of the cost arbitrage that you thought you were going to accrue can be lost through these misalignments and misunderstandings. And finally, I think that you have to make sure that you're looking at this as a whole life cycle issue, not just the recruitment and the onboarding, but also about career progression, about how you reward and pay your people, and how you give effective feedback on an ongoing basis. What's the culture you want to have in 12 months' time with your cross-border teams? You have to think about all of that, because it just doesn't happen by osmosis. And those are the kind of things that we've tried in a very practical way to capture in this book. And the way that we've tried to capture it is by anchoring the whole story around a fictional company who goes through this end-to-end journey of starting an operation in India, and then the challenges they face and how they solve them. So we hope that the content is very practical, and it gives the readers some real great tips and advice on what they should be doing at different stages of their journey. So they're the main messages of the book. And then following on from that, I suppose the next question will be, okay, so who's the book aimed at? Who is the ideal readership for this book? So I don't know if you want to take that video.
sure. So I'd say we have two primary audiences that we can consider. One, obviously, is companies in the West that are looking to either set up operations in India or are expanding their operations, or they've already set up and they're facing challenges. The book is filled with tactical strategies, as Keith was just outlining, to help people get through that and to be successful in working with the India team. But also, this is going to be extremely useful for people within India too, because it's going to give them a perspective of what are the challenges that their Western counterparts are actually facing on a day-to-day basis. How are things getting lost in translation? Like we say, it's really not about how we see ourselves, it's about how others see us, isn't it? So it gives the India teams as well a perspective of what's going on the other side. So hopefully we feel that both sides can learn from this and learn actually effective and practical ways to adapt together.
Yeah, and it's interesting because we very definitely aimed it at both sides, at the Western side and the Indian side. But although we would hopefully consider ourselves as experts in this area and a lot of knowledge in India, just going through this process, again, we've come up with one of those unforeseen challenges that you just can't really imagine is going to be there with the publication of the book, haven't we? What was that, Nav?
Yeah, well, I thought we weren't going to mention that, but it's part of the process.
It's part of the process.
It's part of the process. I think with India, there's always going to be that. With India, you have to be flexible. With India, you have to find a jugaad, as my Indian colleague will understand, and the clients. So we launched the book, and obviously we're new to the whole book launch, and we launched it on Amazon, and obviously we launched in all the markets, including India, probably one of our bigger markets. And we only found out after launching that in India, there is no print on demand. So we can't physically print the book and send it to our clients. And it was quite funny because we delivered a workshop with one of our clients in India, and they said, we would like everyone in our team to go through this book. And we just could not offer it to them because it was not available. So, we're finding now, just like you have to do with many of our projects in India, a workaround, a jugaad. And we will find it, and we will have the book ready for our Indian readers to be ordered on Amazon. Just give us a week or so and we'll sort it out. But it tells you, even when you're an expert, right, it doesn't mean you will have answers for everything in India, but you just have to be aware of these situations. You have to have good idea on what to expect. It just makes life a lot more easier. It gives you that little bit edge over your competition if you're a little bit better prepared. So it's good that we've gone through this, and it kind of verifies what we're writing or actually is always out there.
Yeah, but I think, Vidya, just to reassure any listeners in India, you can still get the book in India, can't you?
Yes, you can still get the digital version. And then the paperback is what Nav was just describing, that we're trying to find a solution for it. But if any of our India clients are looking to have this book ordered for any of their Western teams in another country, we could also have them place the order through the link for that region. So you can still get the book. I mean, I have the digital version as well along with this. So that part of it is still working fine. So there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, great.
All right. So Nav, actually, since you are talking about, Amazon and the book and the initial roadblock that we've experienced, do you also want to talk about some initial reactions you've been hearing about the book?
Yeah, certainly. That's one of the questions we've been asked. Obviously, when people ask us, can you recommend it? Yes, but how's other finding it? And we were probably more curious than anyone else, because this is the first time we all written a book. So we're really trying to think, have we done a good job? Have we written something that people find useful? And we are quite overwhelmed with how positive people find it. I've just read, Keith actually showed me my previous manager in Ericsson days, Peter. He just put on LinkedIn, because we did lots of work between Western Europe and India, and we did a lot of the offshoring, setting up teams in India. And he was, I think, jokingly said, we were just trying to go with intuition, what works, and it somehow worked. And he he could relate to everything that we written in the book. So it's good. It's validation, but it's good to know from people who's done this for years and years that it actually adds value. But everyone who's read the book, they said they really like it. Not only in the West, but I think also the teams in India, they're giving us quite positive feedback. I think everyone seems to like the storyline, that it feels like reading almost like a fictional novel, that you kind of follow this these different characters, and the Indian teams can see how the India team feel frustrated, and the US team or the Western team can put themselves in the shoes of those characters. So I think feedback so far has been very positive, and we can see this obviously on the reviews that we have on Amazon. But people are reaching out to us directly, and I'm really happy because I had a workshop this morning with the Swedish team, and at the end they asked, "Now, can you recommend the book after all the good workshop we had?" And like he said, this time I can actually show that there is a book we recommend, not only because we think we wrote it. I think it has the right answers because I knew what the issues were, what the questions they had, and I can't cover them to our workshop, but hopefully this book gives them all the answers. So yeah, I mean, we're really happy with the book so far. And of course, if you haven't read it, please order yourself the ebook, or get a physical copy, or get in touch with us, and obviously we can help. While I'm talking, I also realized that there might be some questions if you have joined us. If there are any questions, especially on the LinkedIn Live, you can put it as a comment. It comes through into the session. So if there's any questions that we haven't covered so far, please put them in the chat in LinkedIn, and they may come through this, and we can take them because we might have a few minutes at the end of it. But
Yeah,
there's
just one more point on the feedback on the book now, which is that I think one feedback that we are expecting, I don't know if we've had that feedback yet, but one feedback I'm expecting is, yeah, but you've missed out this and you missed out that, and could we have had more on? So one of the challenges we had when we were writing the book was, how long do we want it to be? And we kind of decided on around 100 pages. And so in 100 pages, you can only get in what you can get in 100 pages. And we hope we've covered the most important salient points within 100 pages. But obviously, if there are things missing and anybody wants to have a chat with us about that, then we're very happy. It's not the sum total of our combined knowledge. It's what we thought we could get in the book, in a book of that size. Sorry, Nava.
No, I think it's good, because that was also, I think, that was a difficult part, because I think between the three of us, me, Vidya, and Keith, we're also three different characters, and we probably also represent different generations. And Keith is a massive book reader, and I think he reads a lot of books, and he likes to have a lot of the content. I think, me and Vidya are slightly different generation, and we want something quick. We don't have the patience to read 300 pages. And I think that probably represents the world out there. We know that there's a lot more we can add to this. There's potentially something that we might do in the future, but hopefully this is a good balance for people from all different backgrounds, from all different countries, and all different generations. But Keith, one of the questions that people are also asking, just kind of continuation of what you said, is, are we thinking about writing something else? Should there be other books? Do you want to comment on that?
Yeah, so obviously this first book, Working with Teams in India, is only 2 weeks old. So we're obviously going to let this settle down a bit. I think we're probably want a bit of a rest from the writing of the books for a bit. But yes, we are actively thinking about what would come next. And so this book we just published is called Working with Teams in India. So the obvious next book would be Working with Teams in the West, written more from an Indian perspective than from the Western perspective. And I think that would kind of round that circle. So I think that would probably be the next one that we'd be looking to publish. And I would imagine that would probably be around, I don't know, summer next year, something like that, given the kind of times that we have available to do this. But the other book that I'm definitely mulling over in my mind is around the whole GCC landscape. So a lot of the work that we do is with GCCs. A lot of our targeting and objectives for the coming years is to do increasing amount of work with GCCs. Currently, around 1,700 GCCs in India, employing something like 2.1 million people. But by 2030, that number could double. So there's obviously going to be an exponential growth in the GCC landscape, and it's complicated to get it right. It's complicated to get it right, and I think people would probably benefit from a similar type of, how to approach this whole process from a cultural angle. We're not obviously going to talk about, what city you should go to or what the best corporate setup is in India. We're not going to look at the hard issues, but from the interpersonal cultural perspective, I think we'll probably look at that. And we've got a lot of experience in that area. So I think those would be the two areas that we would probably look at. I don't think we'll ever go down the route of a general cultural awareness training, book, a cultural awareness book. There's so many of those. There's kind of far too many of those out in the market at the moment, I think. So we'd definitely be much more focused and specific, and I think help oriented in the books that we do.
Very good. I'm sure it's going to be as exciting and enriching an experience as this was, but hopefully quicker next time, because we took a very long time to decide on what we want to do.
We were very busy at the same time.
We were very busy as well.
A massive project. We've been training 10,000 people, so that took a lot of our time as well. So that's all we were going to cover today. Just those 7 questions that we've talked about, and hopefully that's of interest to people. Hopefully it's piqued your interest.
Just to interrupt, we have one of our audience who asked a question, which is, which part of the book are you most proud of? And I think we have a couple of minutes, so maybe we quickly answer that. And if I can get...
That's an interesting question.
Vidya, I don't know if you want to jump in quickly just to say, what's one thing that you really are proud of about the book?
I mean, the fact that we even have a book makes me proud. But of the many things that I'm proud of, I think what I really like about the way that it's all turned out is that it's great that we have practical strategies, what to do, how to do it, why you should do it, and everything. But it makes it an interesting read, because I think we've captured the feeling on both sides really well in each of the chapters. Just the sheer frustration that people go through, which is tiring to deal with day in and day out. Yet there are 2 perspectives, and neither is right or wrong, really. I think the fact that we've been able to set that up as the context in every chapter, and then build on it, and then give recommendations, gives it a nice, a very human and connectable sort of a feeling. That's what I'm most proud of.
Very good. Very good. Keith, any thoughts?
I think if I think back to the start of the process, I think one of the most challenging pieces of writing the book was not actually writing the book, but working out what the structure of the book should be, and what the structure of each chapter should be. And what we came up with in the end was the life cycle of setting up and making a project work in India. So that goes through, each chapter goes through an element of that. So I quite like that progression. And then within each chapter, we present a scenario, a real life-based scenario, which illustrates a challenge. Then we talk around, what's the cultural background, what's happening, unknown to all the participants, what's happening in the background that's driving those behaviours. And then the third bit of the book is, okay, so that's the scenario, this is what's happening, what can you do in future to stop that from happening again? So I quite like that whole structure that we came up with, which I think works quite well. What about you, Nav?
I think my biggest worry was that, because it's a business book, it's a management book, it's a consulting book, it was going to be boring. And I think what I'm really proud of, that I think it reads really well. Like I said, it's a story, people can relate to it. I think it's entertaining. I think I'll just try to find this page. You can see how someone in the US, we added these images to kind of get you feel for kind of how people go through emotions. And I think we managed to keep entertaining while there's a lot of information in it. And I think that's really one of the parts I like it. I'm just looking at it.
It's also solved one very big problem for me, which is, what will I give to every member of my family as a Christmas present this year? So they're all going to get a copy of this book, which I'm sure they'll be very grateful for.
I've got a few copies for Diwali next week, so that takes the box. Yeah, we just kind of ran out of time. I know that everyone is busy. Yeah, we just wanted to take some of our time to share what we've been discussing about the book and our experience, and hopefully a lot of you out there find it useful. Do go get your copy. If you have any questions, you can always reach out to us. We are more than welcome to get on a call with us. But having said that, thank you very much for joining, everyone. We hope we have answered all the questions. If you have more questions, obviously get in touch with us. And we look forward to having you in one of the next LinkedIn Live on India. Having said that, thank you very much, and happy Diwali, especially to our Indian colleagues for next week. And we will see you very soon. Thanks, Vidya Keith, for joining us. I will see you soon.
Thanks a lot.
Happy Diwali, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Good day. Bye
Bye.
for now.
Bye.